In this video, we are going to discuss what is needed in order to write the Federalist Paragraph of your paper. So, the Federalist Paragraph should be the first paragraph after your introduction, and it needs to discuss the political beliefs of the Federalist Party. In this paragraph, you will not be discussing anything at all about the Republican Party. You are only to tell the reader about the views of the Federalist Party. Therefore, this is not a compare and contrast paragraph. The main point of this paragraph is to give the reader specific information only on Federalists and Alexander Hamilton. So, when writing this paragraph, your Section 4 notes on Alexander Hamilton and Section 4 of the textbook is going to come in handy. Now, when using the textbook in your notes, it is important that you are not plagiarizing. This cannot be done. Okay, this means that you cannot use anything word for word from the textbook at all. So you must summarize ideas from the textbook. When you summarize, you need to make some sort of mark in parentheses because this is going to help tremendously when we do our last lesson over MLA citation. An MLA citation helps cite sources that you use in your paper. Okay, we're going to go over how you correctly summarize. So when summarizing information, obviously you're taking stuff you find in the book. Okay, so this is just information I found directly in the textbook, and this is the quote from the book I am using. The quote says, "Most Federalists shared Hamilton's view that people were basically selfish and out for themselves." Okay, that is the direct quote. This is the non-example of summarizing. If you said this, it would not be correct. Hamilton's view that people were basically selfish and out for themselves. Most Federalists shared Hamilton's view. Now you're saying, well, that's not exactly what the quote of the book is. Well, I'm going to argue, yes, it is. And in the eyes of teachers and professors and lawyers, this would be plagiarism. The reason why is you are using direct wording from the quote. All the writer did here was they switched around the different aspects of the sentence. So they put the last aspect at the front of the sentence and the first aspect at the last part of the sentence. Okay, that is still plagiarism. Just because you switched up the sentence a little bit does not make it a summary. Now, many students also fall into this. They just change one or two words of the sentence. That is also plagiarism. You cannot just change one or two words of the sentence because that is not a summary. Now, you're asking, what is a summary? Well, I'm going to give you an example. So using this same direct quote from the book, a good summary would be this. Alexander Hamilton and many other Federalists believed that people were selfish, period. They believed this because they saw people acting for themselves and not others in the United States during this time. That would be a correct summary. Never in that sentence or sentences are any direct phrases from the original quote used at all. Okay, this has to be 100% totally in your own words. You cannot just change one or two words of the sentence. Now you're asking, why did you put parentheses and textbook after that? Well, because I'm just making a mark in my paper, and that is the mark I want you to use. So anytime you get information from the textbook, you must use that mark because that will help you tremendously when we go back and do the correct MLA citation. In the Federalist Paragraph, you must include the following information. This is 100% needed. You need to tell me the Federalist views on human nature, the government, the economy, and the conflict between Great Britain and France. Those four things you must do. You also must describe Whiskey Rebellion. And finally, you must describe loose construction. Now you're asking yourself, wow, that is a ton of information to include in one paragraph. Yes, it is. You can separate the Federalist Paragraph into two different paragraphs. It does not need to be all one. For example, in one paragraph, you may want to talk about their views on human nature and the government. In the other paragraph, maybe you want to talk about the economy and the conflict between Great Britain and France. You can definitely do that. You do not need to limit yourself to writing all of this information in one paragraph. You can write it in two. Now, you can also, some nice information to have, but it's not directly required, would be information on the Sedition Act and the states' rights theory. So this would help you move up the rubric a little bit to that Excel category if you wanted to include some of these things. Okay, but like I said, the top information on the slide needs to be included, and the Federalist paragraph can be one paragraph or it can be two paragraphs, depending on how you want to divide it. I will give you choice as the writer.